Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for this.
We do have a quorum. And does everyone have a copy of the minutes? And thanks for getting these out. I haven't had a chance to review them, so if I can take a few minutes to review.
I would just take out
I apologize when I'm writing notes. I'm like, verbatim, but I'm like, so.
No, that's fine.
Also, just on my name under the application and motion.
That's where it was. Because I knew I caught it, but apparently I didn't catch it everywhere.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections and amendments to the points that?
Would I just be able to confirm them real quick to make sure I have them correctly? So Mr. Davis just needed his name updated in the invocation from U to W. Ms. Dennis wanted in paragraph 2 on new business, second line, it needed to be to state and federal mandates. On the next page, I guess paragraph 2, or whatever you want to call it, section 2, Amanda Blaylock mentioned the joint maintenance facility and leave it as an example of a collaborative effort by Ms. Napper. Suggested that, and Ms. Dennis. Further down, Catherine Dennis mentioned many fees haven't increased in years, and it should be changed to even football, even though costs have increased. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I believe that's it. On the next page? Your name again. That won't be a problem next time. Okay, so yes, I would move to approve the minutes with the amendments just noted.
I second it.
All approve?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved, motion passes. So, under new business, I wanted to, and I know Mrs. Blaylock is not here, so there were some follow-up questions, and that should have been under old business for the agenda, but there were some follow-up questions I have for Parks and Rec, but we can table that unless.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple things. I did talk to Mr. Brooks today, actually, about a few things, especially about the MOU. And he says it hasn't been finalized yet, but they are progressing along with that, and everything seems to be going well on both sides. He's happy about that. And I see in the minutes from the other week we had, from last month, we had about the revenue sharing with the fields on the schools. And I asked him about that, and he said that money that they get from that goes into a special account, and it's used for, CIP projects, and with schools and park projects. Just like, they install, the lights at Cortland High and stuff like that. So a lot of that money goes back to the schools as well. So it doesn't just all go to Parks and Rec.
Okay. I'm wondering if some of that may be addressed under the new MOU as well.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But that's pretty much all I have on the follow-up that I did with him earlier today.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any questions regarding Parks and Rec updates? And there's a few outstanding questions that I have, and I'm going to try to carve out some time to meet with Mr. Brooks as well, still regarding the banners. Excuse me. Wanted to give a brief update on the outreach and education to community organizations. That was part of the ongoing conversation with the Department of Social Services that we had, and that we were going to do some presenting to some of the community organizations about Ticket to Work and how they can become engaged to hopefully become more self-sufficient and pull down some of those federal dollars. That meeting is September 11th. I'll be one of the individuals. I'll be going to the United Way, just as a FYI, to meet with some of their community partners, and many of those community partners that were listed on page 271 will be there, to just have a conversation and just kind of talk to them about the federal program and how they could potentially benefit, and answer any questions they may have. So that's just part of what we had talked about we wanted to do, and that's something that I put into the report for the Board of Supervisors as well. So I just wanted to update the committee that we are moving forward with that. That's September 11th. Yes, it's the United Way. We met with the United Way, the president and the VP of United Way, and they have a quarterly meeting where I think it's quarterly, where they bring in a lot of their partners, and we're just going to take that, and they're going to take the opportunity to have a conversation. We're going to take the opportunity to have a conversation with them about this federal program, since they'll all be there. Probably no more than 45 minutes to an hour. So one of the things that I did not put this on the agenda, and I do want to ask the rest of the committee, did you all have a chance to review the Board of Supervisors communication that I had sent out. That was essentially the report that we wanted to provide to them. It has not been given to them as of yet. I didn't hear any feedback from anyone, so we kind of held off on actually giving that to them because I wanted to make sure as a committee that we're all on the same page, or if there were any recommendations or edits. Yeah, well, I saw yours. I apologize. You said great job. And I appreciate that. But,
I think I said the same thing, but I'm not sure what.
oh, okay. Yeah, because, well, and I just wanted to, again, have a conversation before that goes out to the board, just to make sure that we're all in line with that. So did you have anything about that, Sean?
No, I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I think it was a good start, that we're better start off.
Okay, so, Mary, is that something that, that you can send to the board? Okay. So, and Sean, one of the things that you had asked is for some clarification regarding how we go forward. And Mary was going to reach out to Mr. Yakubowski, Supervisor Yakubowski, regarding that. And so she did, and the email that I have, and I will forward this to everyone, but do you all mind if I just kind of summarize what?
Sure.
Mary, based on her communication with Supervisor Yakubowski. And some of this, Catherine, you had spoken about at the last meeting as well. But he suggested that we approve a single process for the CBRC approve a single process to review all county departments. And that this process should include the development of a standardized form that the CBRC could use to document information that they find in the review or that we find in the review. And again, like for us as a committee to develop that, and I'd like to have a conversation about, how we want to go about developing that form. And then, again, begin to tackle one department at a time, and we'll ultimately produce a report of the findings. So let me go down here a little bit more, and I apologize for this not being as smooth. The CBRC should focus on the following things in their review of each department: an explanation of the responsibilities of each department, including a departmental organizational chart, and an explanation of who employees report to, the number of staff within a department that are necessary because of mandates, a review of other non-mandated staff and non-mandated expenditures, including any suggested revisions to program processes that would create efficiencies in the department without negatively impacting services, and also a peer review noting how many staff and how much funding is provided in similar departments in other localities. So, and some of this Catherine had brought up last month about the mandated and non-mandated. So I think the first thing that, and I'll send this correspondence to everyone so that you all can have it. But I think one of the first thing that we need to do is, and this is where I think the brain power on this committee comes in, is to develop a standardized form that we can use. I think we all do different things in our professional career that we can kind of pull from. And so I was wondering, and Mary, maybe you can help us out on this a little bit, and this is my thought, and Jess, we can kind of go back and forth on this. Should we have a work group to work on this? Because I know when we come here, for our monthly meetings, if we're going to spend time developing a form and kind of going back and forth and bringing different ideas, I don't know if, because this is maybe televised, if that's, not that we're hiding anything, but if this would be the right forum for that, maybe if we could have a work group. But then I was wondering too, I know we need to have a quorum and special meetings. I was reading the bylaws, kind of, looking at that, but I wanted everyone else's opinion as well. And maybe because I would like to see, maybe do something, I don't think it'll take long, but do we necessarily need to have a meeting to be doing that here? If we could, again, spend some of our time, a few hours.
I think once we have so many people meeting, regardless of what it is, it's public record anyway, correct? Because a work session, even the Board of Supervisors, their work sessions are publicized and all that stuff, so.
If I'm hearing your question correctly, Mr. Bell, you're asking for the possibility of developing a small work group to draft this standardized form.
Yes, ma'am.
And that group would bring back that form to this group to approve. That's no different, I don't think, than what y'all are doing, visiting departments in small groups. I don't think there's anything inappropriate, and I agree, it might not be the best time to sit here and hash out all the details if 2 or 3 or however many want to work in a group to develop the standardized form. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Input from the committee?
I really don't see the form being that complicated for what he's asking for, which we are actually doing already, but it's been limited in what he's saying. He's only asked for deltas in personnel and deltas in program. He technically asked for 2 things, which we take it a little bit further in our research. And I think the way that you and Amanda did your research is a great process. So I think it's more or less we lay out a process of what we already do that answers his 2 layouts. I mean, that's just like 3 main bullets, and then you put the information, under, our questions, X amount of personnel, delta, cost delta, because that's what he's asking for, which we do that anyway. And then if we think there's additional program savings and things like that, we just list that underneath. So I don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be. I think that answers his mail. That's just my suggestion.
Okay. Right. No, that's what I'm looking for.
Hang on. Well, we are a budget review committee, and I think we have to, within that, we need to look at those dollars that are spent on non-mandated services, and I know that they don't want it to hinder the performance of the department. Perfect example would be the sheriff's department. And I'm sure Tim can talk to how many officers we're mandated to have as opposed to what we have, and we need every single one of them. But we do need to look at the budget because we are a budget review committee.
I think we could use a Google form,
Okay.
and then everybody has access to that Google form. We share it, and then anybody who wants something changed, we wouldn't even have to meet. We could just shoot it all over Google and have our notes and everything right there. But a Google form would be good because then we've got it done. We share it with the supervisors, and we're done.
Okay.
It's efficient.
Well, and once we go through a few departments, we could make whatever revisions we
Exactly.
find to be helpful.
Yes, because it's
And I think it
they're
is
living
going to be,
documents.
I think we do need to go through a few.
Okay, Tim, I know you were writing, but it seemed like you had a question as well, so I want to give you.
We aware if, and I just asked, so we're not reinventing the wheel either. I mean, we're already sort of doing it like you said, Sean. Are there other counties that have CBRCs? Like that maybe they, if you don't know, I was, that's the one thing I always look at when we're going to do something in our office, like right now, looking at doing stuff for some of the Marine unit stuff we're doing. I'm reaching out to the Coast Guard that has policies already in place that we may be able to implement instead of reinventing the wheel. So I didn't know if anybody knew if there was any others. If there's not, then yeah, have at it, but there might be somebody that's already doing that somewhere.
I don't know of any locality that has exactly the setup we have. I think most localities do involve their citizens, and that can be done in a number of ways.
Okay.
So,
So there may not be, okay.
Yes.
I just figured I'd
Yeah,
ask.
most of them also have internal auditors,
Okay,
and we don't have that
okay,
yet.
all right.
But I have a quick question. Who can set up, anybody can set up that form? I'm talking about under our, you know what I mean, so we can track it, or who has to?
You have to have access to Google Drive.
Oh, no, I get that.
I have
I'm
two
just
of
saying,
them.
under our setup, who legally, you see what I'm saying, who does it, and then how do we?
Well, any of us can do it. Any of us can set it up because it's our
I'm
committee.
not necessarily following your question. So who can actually go onto Google Drive and set up the form and?
Does he have to do it and track it as such?
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
I just want to make sure we have one belly button, you know, one direction, and they don't say, all of you doing all correct. No, we're not all over the place.
Right.
This person created it. Everybody else can go into it and update it, that kind of thing. That way we have one direction,
Right.
you know, to the portfolio.
Okay. I'm somewhat familiar with Google Docs, and I don't mind, but can I lean on some of your expertise,
Yeah,
Ms. Napper? If we, okay.
yeah.
So, okay. Say that again?
I'll need help.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's why I want to make sure.
Yeah.
And Richard does not have the internet. Mr. Thompson does not have an email address.
Well, we can provide him with hard copies
Hard
of everything.
copies.
Yeah, what, can't we just do a Word document and put it in an email?
We could, but a Google Doc has more advantages than a Word document does. A Google Doc is like a living,
Yeah, it's
breathing.
real time where you
Yeah,
can
it's
make
real time,
you can
right
make
then,
those
right
changes.
there. It's much more efficient than a Word document is.
So if we are, does everyone have Gmail?
I mean, Gmail's free, so
Yeah.
anybody can make a Gmail account.
And I'm just, so if we're sharing that, well, I guess it wouldn't be no different than the email. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any confidentiality and freedom of information, anything like that. I was going back to my work hat too of PII, so I was like, okay, yeah.
Well, we have not, that's not the email that we gave for FOIA request. So I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know. He does not.
Okay.
Or call somebody on the phone and get a hard copy.
Would it be beneficial for, if this is what we're doing and it is a living document, would it be beneficial, and I'm just putting this out, for everyone to maybe get a Gmail account?
Can we have Mary contact the county attorney and make sure we're okay within the FOIA guidelines? Well, because we'd be doing official committee business using an email other than the one we furnished. Is that okay within FOIA? I truly don't know. Okay.
You? Okay. Yeah, we could just create another one.
Yeah, we should be able to create another one. I mean, unless they're limited to one. I don't see that happening, so,
What, one Gmail?
yeah, one email account.
For the county.
For the county.
For FOIA.
That's what she's,
I was gonna say, I've got 3.
yeah. So I don't see us having a problem with that. So I think this is really good, another good direction that we're going for live drive, so yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So, can you just put in the notes to, and I'm making myself a note that teamwork makes the dream work. Okay. And that's all I've had for under new business, but I do have a question for Mary. I know that the county is, beginning to transition into a new system that's going to be taking up a lot of, I think, your time and your staff's time. And so, excuse me, wanted to know, I think that's starting next month.
We are actually in the process.
Well, you're in the
Yes.
process.
We are actively meeting every week on the
Okay.
project. We will not, we'll begin more hardcore training, say, in spring, and we'll go live July 1. So from April till August, it will be truly extremely busy. We're working now along, and we'll continue to do our jobs, but it's going to be busy from now on.
Okay, and so I was wondering, just with additional reviews coming up, we definitely don't want to, put too much on you, ask too much. So just wanted, some honest feedback as it relates to your time, and so that we're respectful of that, because I know that that's a huge undertaking. So.
Yeah, are you talking about relative to our department being one of the next departments to review, or just in general?
Just
or-
in general,
Oh,
your
I will
department.
continue, yeah, this,
Okay.
this will be a priority. The CBRC will be, and I will make that happen within that. But yes, staff is very busy, and myself too, with the system, but that's
Okay.
our daily life.
Okay.
I would say that finance and human resources and social services have just a whole lot on their plates right now. And we've touched on Parks and Rec. I'm not sure if there's another department that you all would like to send a couple of representatives to, or the committee would like to.
Greg, if I could say too, when I spoke to Mr. Yakubowski, because there were several board meetings where CBRC direction was discussed, and it was at the June 28th meeting where he actually made the motion and the board approved the process. And I watched that meeting multiple times and decided I really needed to talk to him to find out exactly what it was. And that's how this email that Greg's going to share with you came about. But I thought it was interesting, and I thought he had a really good point, that he was really focused on a single process and a single form for several reasons. He said to me, and you'll see it in the email that I sent to Greg, that he's heard for many years that reviewing the county's recommended budget is just a very broad and burdensome task for CBRC members who are volunteers. And he has seen, and I have witnessed too, a lot of turnover, which has not happened lately. It has settled down. The turnover in the CBRC has not happened for many years, and so while it's leveling off, he thought it was really important for you all to document these things and to actually put together these reports in the same standardized form, so that if there is turnover in the future, one of the first things you can hand to the new CBRC member is, here's what we've done so far, to bring them up to speed. He also said that these documents will be extremely helpful to the board members and to the citizens in the future. And we can document this and print these documents and have standard forms that everyone can review. So he truly is looking at something that will make your operation more efficient, and will actually make future operations of the CBRC more efficient and actually useful to him, to other board members, to the citizens, and to future CBRC members when turnover occurs. So I thought they were really good points. I know we say, oh, what's the difference in the format it's in, but really a standard format does make sense. And I think, honestly, maybe one of the first things you might want to do is just, once you get the form developed, is tackle putting into those forms what you've already done.
Yeah.
Take what you've got from Parks and Rec and fill in the form. Take what you've got from any other, I know we've talked about the fire department, I know you've met with others, but any that you feel comfortable about, just go ahead and start filling those forms in, and we'll see where we're at. From the mandate standpoint, departments are required each year to update forms for the budget office about mandates. So we can provide you, that's a public information document. It has, each department has different mandates they have to meet, and in those spreadsheets, it tells you how many people are involved in that mandate. Quite often, it's a third of a person or a fifth of a person or whatever, but because the mandate actually encompasses multiple people, but that information's there. That will be helpful to you to see. I can't remember, I know I've provided it to CBRC members in the past, but I don't believe any of you have seen that documentation. So there are a lot of pieces, I think, that you can put together to begin to get this information. He clearly said that he wanted you all to look at revisions to programs and processes that would create efficiency. It's obviously not non-mandated is a key, but I don't think he has any issue with you looking, to Sean's point, to anything and everything, including how efficiently we're doing mandated things. Just because a process is mandated doesn't mean that we are doing it as efficiently as possible. So I think everything's on the table. His point was just, let's document it in a clear, concise way so that for future generations of CBRC members and citizens and everyone, this will be a document that people can go to find out. And that in no way, Catherine, stops you from reviewing each annual budget, but I would certainly think getting to know each of these departments the way you have over the years is very helpful to you. When you pick that budget document up now, you know a whole lot more about what's happening behind the scenes, so.
And there is on the website, under the CBRC, there is a tab for CBRC documents.
Yes, and this would.
So we could upload it, and that way it's
You could
forever
upload
a
them
record.
individually, as a group, however you want. We can definitely upload all that information to your website. Yes, ma'am.
So it sounds like, again, looking at the form, creating that form, and then taking some of the stuff, if I'm hearing Mary correctly, taking some of the reviews we've already done, and then filling that information in to see the flow of it in the process, and then kind of going from there. So, any questions about that? And to that point, one of the things that I'd asked Mary when I was actually doing this was, do we have a form to give the board a report on, like a standard, like what? I didn't know what to actually put it on, like, you know.
Well, Jeremiah did a written one.
Yeah. So I think this is all really good stuff and really good direction that we're going in. So just to review, Google Forms, we're going to lay out a process while we're actually looking at some of the data and information we've already done to kind of help create that form at the same time. And then once we get that, I guess we'll share it with everyone if everyone has Gmail. And we'll kind of go from there. And okay. So any questions, or am I missing anything?
Well, you did ask what we should look at next. And if we're going to leave finance alone for a little while, maybe the county administrator's office and the planning commission should be our next route. And do we know how Ms. Blaylock's surgery went today?
No, she emailed me, told me that she was just having a procedure, and I told her I wished her the best and I hope all goes well, but I have not heard anything beyond that.
I hope all went well, yes.
Yeah. So, but I will follow up with a text to her.
Great.
Dawn, did you mean the planning department?
Yeah.
Okay.
Department, sorry.
Department. Does anyone have any other things? I think that's a great place to start. Any other departments? Have we ever looked at the planning department?
No,
I don't believe we have. So,
I'd be willing to be on that county administrator.
And if I'm not mistaken, the planning department is somewhat like Parks and Rec, aren't they? Isn't a portion or a sizable portion of their budget fee supported, or is that zoning? Or there's one of those in there that is a big portion of their budget's fee supported.
There are long-term and short-term planning, both exist in the planning department. Short-term being the review of developments, and they do come with development fees. Long-term would be the comprehensive plan, and that is the comprehensive plan is a mandate for the government to have, and that would not necessarily be fee-driven. But any developer that walks in that wants to rezone or any of that type of thing, that is definitely fee-driven. So a portion of their budget is funded by fees. Same thing with zoning. They have some things that are fee-driven and some that are just mandated, like, I'm trying to think of enforcement. I mean, you know, you don't, when someone calls to has an issue with their neighbor who has, and I'm just making something up, junk cars in the yard, you don't charge them to go out and do that. That's part of their tax base. But when someone wants to have something rezoned, that would be potentially a fee-supported item, so.
You have long-term and short-term.
Yes, definitely part of their budget is fee-driven, yes.
I was willing to throw my name in the hat for the review of the county administration.
Okay. In planning,
No, I think we should do it the same time. 2 other members.
Yeah, but we also got to realize we're creating a new process at the same time of taking Parks and Rec, putting into the process, and looking at, we're already doing 2, now that'd be 4 things, so.
For them when we go to county admin.
so that we have a template, and I agree with that, that we,
There's
that we-
nothing wrong with hitting county admin, but if we've already talked about doing a process, and that was what Mr. Yakubowski wants, before we keep adding more data, I think we should deal with the data we have.
Well, I was involved in 2 of the department reviews previously, so I feel pretty confident in being able to go and gather the data and then see how it fits in the form. But I think, you know, we've spun our wheels now since March, and I feel like we need to get out there. So I feel pretty confident with that. I would prefer that perhaps maybe you, 2 members could do planning. Mr. Davis and Ms. Napper maybe, because he's done Parks and Rec and you're doing Ticket to Work.
well, I would still like to have the process laid out first. And so, and have that process and make sure that it's smooth and it's what we want and that it's beneficial and useful and that we don't have to then go back and reinvent the wheel. But that's me. This is a committee. I want everyone's input from that. But, you know, I will say that that's where I think, and maybe I'm a little bit more streamlined and kind of logical just in my thought process in general. So that doesn't always work all the time. So I get that. But this is a committee, and I want to hear from everyone. But again, that's just me. I think Google Forms, because I don't think, more importantly, I think too, let's put some deadlines on the Google Forms and on the processes so that we can then get to, you know, the planning department and the county administrator. Because this doesn't have to take a long time. We just have to get it done. So if we have maybe some hard dates in which we can kind of get this done, then we can move forward a little bit more efficiently. But again, open it up to the committee.
If you want to give me the information you want on the Google form, send it to me. I can work on it this weekend. It won't take long. It's part of my Google Educator certification I'm going for anyway. So it would be good practice for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't mind doing planning and the county administrator,
Okay.
since I'm right there
All right.
every
So
day.
I think we can only have 2 if we have 3.
Well, who do we
Is
have
that
besides you?
right? Scott was gonna do it. He volunteered right here. Mr. Fel- But is that, do we have to keep it to 2?
Okay.
Just go gather the data, and then the data comes back, and we all discuss it as a committee.
Exactly. Yeah, no problem. So, Sean, you good with that?
Which part?
All of it, dear.
Well, I mean, I'm all for multitasking, but as long as we have a good, clear form to fill in.
Yeah.
Because we can always gather information, everybody can do that. It's how we put it into the form that matters. So, yeah, so I'm for going ahead and getting whatever information we need. I mean, it's like doing a thesis type thing, you have to come back and fill it in. Our bread and butter is gonna be how we create the form in the long run.
Right.
So I think as long as we do that right, and we have to make sure it's tailorable and all that craziness. So, no, I'm for it, so let's go forth and do great things, why not?
So can we all make a point to send Ms. Napper some information on the form by this weekend? That's, you said,
Yeah, send me what you want.
so can we all do that? I think, does everyone have Ms. Napper's email? It's on the list. Just so if we can all do that, I don't know what you'll be getting.
I don't know what I get every day.
But, and then we can kind of go from there.
That was this morning. Yes.
I recommend then then we all send the information, and when we meet again at our next meeting is when we should go through and finalize. I mean, we can probably do it as we're going, and whatever we don't finalize, at least by our next meeting, hopefully we can just kind of fine tune it by then. I recommend if those of you that's gung-ho and want to go get other information, go forth and do great things. That'll save that time too, because we still have to go back with further questions, I'm pretty sure. And then we just hit the ground running, I guess, from there.
So I want to clarify, Mr. Phelps is doing the lead on county admin, is that correct?
So,
And did we ascertain planning or not?
no,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
with,
We're doing,
Planning.
okay,
and I,
okay, Sean, looking into, okay. And you are gonna help out with,
Mary, is the county attorney's office under the county administrator?
no,
Separate office?
separate. yeah.
Okay.
okay. And so we need to set some dates for that. And county administrator. Is there anything else? Am I missing? I feel like.
Can we email you the dates?
Yeah, and I would like to email me and email Mary as well. Mary, would you like to coordinate? Or could you?
Give me dates when you are available. I can be in contact with the directors in those, with county administrator and with Wanda Parish, and find out when they're available. But it would probably be their preference to hear from you first and find out what dates and times you're available. And then you don't need to give a pile of dates and times, but a couple. And if there's nothing that can be worked in with those, I'll contact you back and let you know. So
Okay,
if you provide those dates, absolutely, I'll set them up. Mm-hmm.
sounds good. And just, just as a disclaimer, this is always about learning and gathering information.
So do you want?
Both of us?
Both of us, can you copy just?
I can send it to you and send a copy
Yeah,
I mean, there's no sense in it going through that, because I know that each of us are allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, all we're doing is establishing the time, the date and
Sure.
the time that you will meet. And so
Sure.
if you will send Greg and I those dates and times, and I can be in contact with the departments, and through county admin is involved with all of these departments, but I'll be in contact with them through county admin to set up those times, yes. And then I'll let you know back which dates are the ones that are best for both.
Okay.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.